to my Linked Together show. So this is the first episode, the art of human communication on LinkedIn. So each week I'm going to be interviewing guests out of my LinkedIn network on how they use LinkedIn in part of growing their business and part of their personal network. So this week I'm really excited to introduce Jim Graham to the show, who I've known Jim now since 2000. I met Jim in 2012 at a World Internet Summit in Melbourne, and I learnt a lot of really useful information from Jim at that point in time, which I have put into practice with my LinkedIn account. So when I was trying to work out who I was going to have for my initial show, Jim sprung to mind because he certainly has been instrumental in my growth and use of LinkedIn over the years. So welcome, Jim.
Well, thank you very much. Well, thank you for having me on your premiere show. I really, really appreciate being here. Thank you, Leanne.
You're welcome. And so probably one of the first things I will ask you, just can you just tell myself and everyone else watching just a little bit about you and how you what you do and how you started on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. I actually started in internet marketing back in 1999, and I was an eBayer. I was actually just as a hobby selling things on eBay. And I got pretty serious about online marketing in 2007 and decided to go from an offline business, which I was in car washing before that, into 100% online. And that's when my growth in revenue really, really took off on the internet side of things. So moved forward 2007, 2008, and so on, traveled all over the world. I focused in Thailand and also in Kyiv, Ukraine. Those were my two bases. And it's just because there's good internet in those two places. And then coming into 2010, I had a LinkedIn profile before 2010, and I deleted it because I didn't think there was anything there. It was like, that's not for me. And I look back now, I'm like, gosh darn, what a mistake that is. So for any of you who actually have a LinkedIn profile that you're thinking of deleting, don't do it. It's time to make it go to the next level. But in 2010, I actually created a new profile on my birthday. Actually, I looked at the date today. And I've had it ever since. So now that's been 7 years. And really, really done some quite extensive LinkedIn work. And that's when I also met you right after that, a couple of years later, and was really finding that LinkedIn is a great place to generate leads and actually generate revenue.
I must admit, hearing you say that you created your LinkedIn profile in 2008 and deleted it. I was looking back at my own and I created mine in 2008, but I did keep mine. So
right.
I think I had a look one day back when you used to be able to see exactly what member number you were. Remember in the URL, there was the member number, and I think I was member 18,600,000 and something. Now looking at there's over 500 million.
500 million users today. It's really quite something.
It is. And so, Jim, meeting you at World Internet Summit, because I had started in my online world. Well, I was probably, I think 1997 was when I first got my first email address and started doing stuff online. And so sort of looking and just through my whole journey, I remember, I joined LinkedIn in 2008. And I was thinking that why did I join it? And I was at that point in time also part of a flexible learning leaders network. And I remember being at this conference over in Melbourne, and people were talking about like LinkedIn, but they were also talking. And I remember someone talking about Twitter and how she was tweeting something about what she'd had for dinner, and I thought, why on earth would you want to do that? Like, really? So that was really interesting. So, thinking the same thing about, 2008, when LinkedIn was really sort of, just getting going.
Yeah.
And I remember being at that World Internet Summit I didn't know you obviously then, and I certainly didn't, and I didn't even buy the LinkedIn program that you were running at that point in time. But I remember sitting there taking notes, thinking, "Oh yeah, I'll try that, and I'll try that." And so yeah, certainly that's you inspired me well and truly to
thank you
to get onto and start to use LinkedIn. So Jim, as far as like on LinkedIn, so when you created your profile again in 2010, so what industry, what industry, from LinkedIn's perspective, are you on?
Yes. So from an industry standpoint, I'm on the marketing side of things, obviously, with Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, YouTube, Instagram, and then also doing sales funnels and product launches and things like that. But, in LinkedIn, it's all about being found for a problem that you solve. And this is what I realized just after 2010, when I took this really seriously. If I could be found for the problems I could solve, which is in my case, those things, I would get more leads. And it was really quite something how it was growing, even on a daily basis. Like I didn't make posts for a couple of years at all, but every day I was getting 30 to 50, 60 new connections a day because of my keywords. And that was critical and really eye-opening for me.
Yeah. So with your with the connections back then, how was your attitude when it came to actually building a network? Like, did you connect with anyone?
Okay. So there were two philosophies, right? And it was a struggle. Some people were telling me, oh, just focus on your industry. Other people were telling me it doesn't matter because people's industries change. And I actually embraced that things change. So when it changes, then I want to be available and be found for those things that I can do to help people. Maybe they're a nurse today and they're doing something on Amazon tomorrow, and they need organic traffic. So I started connecting with everyone. And I know that this is something that LinkedIn really doesn't endorse, but people's jobs, people's careers, people's life paths change, don't they?
Absolutely.
And that's why I wanted to be found for those. So there have been so many times when I see people and they go, you know what? I connected with you 3-4 years ago and I was a professional in finance and I want to get out of that world. And now I'm on the online world doing something and I'm here to get your help. I want your help. And this is the part about LinkedIn that's quite amazing is that if we're open to basically, in my opinion, if we're open to be able to attract all people and connect with them, the opportunities are endless. They really are. It's an enormous opportunity at that level.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the things that I notice as well. I'm just noticing. Hi, Candy. Thanks for joining, and Mia. Wow, thank you, and Bobby and Matt. So thanks very much for joining us on Facebook Live. This is the first show of Linked Together. So I haven't done a great lot of promotion on it, but I'm really pleased that that there's some people watching, which is fantastic. So hi to you all. But Jim, one of the things that you just mentioned about having like connecting with different people in different industries, that's certainly one of the things that I have done over the years because I always talk about you never discount a connection. Like I wouldn't walk into a conference or a networking event or anywhere without shaking hands with someone. And for me, that's the way that I sort of treat my LinkedIn network is that when I connect with someone, it's basically just having a virtual handshake.
Yep.
And so that's really, again, how I've certainly adopted, the attitude.
And in your case, because I've seen some of your connections, I sometimes go to your profile and I see that we have common connections over time. And see, this is the other part about LinkedIn that is so critical is that we can respect the second level. So your first level, and if they're common to me at any level, at any point, they're my second level. And see, this is the other part that LinkedIn allows us to do is we can communicate directly, even with the second level at times, thanks to your connections. And that's the great part about LinkedIn. And this is why we're able to grow it so quickly when we want to.
Yep, exactly. And I think that that's probably what a lot of people don't think about you know, like, yeah, you know, and I talk about them, you know, as being friends of friends.
Yes,
and
exactly.
And because, you know, how many times just even in the real world, you know, does a friend of yours bring someone along to something, or, you know, a work colleague, or, and you find out you've actually got a lot of things in common with the friend of the friend. So that's, you know, again, I think, you know, so many people underestimate the actual power of the actual friends of friends. You know, so yeah, the second level connections that you have.
Absolutely. And you know, that one seminar in Melbourne, I remember that seminar. And one of the key components of my presentation is that your network determines your net worth. And this is the big piece that people don't understand. Do you remember that?
Absolutely, Jim. I use that quote in quite a lot of my LinkedIn presentations and training. You know, when I talk about connections, it certainly is. I think I actually have that quote attributed to Jim Graham.
But it's an important piece, because the more people we know, then we can get more assistance or connections from other people, or a referral. And, you know, LinkedIn is amazing for referrals. I get so many referrals from LinkedIn because people are asking other people, who do they know that can help them, right? And so in LinkedIn, it makes it so simple just to actually even do a search, either for keywords or for a name. It's like, you know what? I know this person, and I can see that they're doing quite a bit on LinkedIn, or they've done this over here with this website. And the next thing you know, you get a referral. And that's called revenue, which I love.
Yep, absolutely. That's the key. But as far as, you know, like, you know, the network size, like, have you come across any, you know, I mean, we've talked about the pros of, you know, having a big network and different industries, and I'm the same. Like, you know, when I look at, I mean, I have nearly 30,000 actual connections at this point in time. I think there's actually 15 when LinkedIn impose the real ceiling. I mean, we talked about, you know, for years LinkedIn had talked about, you know, that 30,000 connections was the limit, but they actually hadn't ever imposed that. So when I was lucky enough to be one of, I mean, you know, first world problems, you know, lucky enough to have, when they bought the actual 30,000 connections in, I was still a bit under that. So I didn't have, you know, what happened when, you know, the 30,000 and plus, when LinkedIn bought that ceiling, they literally just, you know, flicked anyone above their 30,000 just became followers. So they had no choice as to who that was. So I was a bit under that. So I think I've got 1,500 invitations to connect sitting in my inbox just at this point in time. That I'm going to go back and, you know, cull. Sorry, anyone that I'm going to cull. But, you know, so I can actually make room for the ones that are active and want to connect with me at the moment.
And, you know, that's what I'm doing now too, because I'm at the 30,000 ceiling. And what I'm finding is I've got right now, I just came to the 30,000 ceiling maybe a couple of months ago. And I've got maybe 700 people that are trying to connect. Okay. And at this point, what I have to do is I got to kind of get rid of a few in order to get the ones that I really want to connect with. And then have the opportunity to, when somebody does want to really connect with me, and it's an important piece of what we're trying to accomplish, I want to be able to instantly do it. So yeah, I'm doing the same thing right now too. It's unfortunate because I tell you what, LinkedIn, if they could see about opening up even a larger network, I think that it could actually do wonders for the entire LinkedIn ecosystem. But, you know, we're not LinkedIn, so we don't know. We're just users and advocates of LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's right. It and that's probably, you know, one of the things that if someone's sitting there in your connection request at the moment, they'll one of the things that I've been probably accused of over the time is, well, you know, like, I've sent you a connection request and you haven't accepted it. But yeah, it is one of those things. You sort of, you know, we all want to be, you know, human and real here on the platform, and so yeah, with people thinking that you're just ignoring them. But anyway, it's a matter of once some culling happens, being able to actually accept them and then reach out to them.
Well, you know, speaking of being real, you know, one of the key components of LinkedIn that I've embraced is being able to direct message LinkedIn connections. And, I see so many messages and emails, and I'm sure you do too, with all the internet marketing that we do. We see everything, right? And I get these emails and messages that are so impersonal and have nothing to do with helping me, And one of the things that I really found to work out very well as far as being real is actually make each message personal. Down to their name, and then, inviting them to maybe take a look at a free ebook or a free download or a free video on the ways that, you could do something better in business or whatever, in my case, in marketing, But this is about being real. And LinkedIn is a place that, really being real is helpful, because there's so many people that are just machines that are just, kick out a message. And I got one message one time, Leanne, and it said, "It's great to see that you're one of the top female LinkedIners." Okay. And I'm like, okay, I'm a female today. Right.
It is some of the messages that you get, although I must admit it's really interesting when, and what I was going to ask just before was, do you see, we've talked about the pros of having large networks, and in different industries, like, is there any cons that you've come across?
You know what, there are always cons. There are always cons. And what I call them is, these are challenges that slow us down in what we're wanting to do. But I understand that we need to be slowed down sometimes. One of the things I've always embraced is automation. I love software. I love to be able to leverage things and put things in and have it scheduled and do things like in Facebook. We can do a lot of automation in Facebook. In LinkedIn, we can't schedule anything. And there are a couple pieces of software out there, but honestly, I've tried them and they work today and tomorrow they don't work anymore because, LinkedIn changes a few things and it's over. So the con is that it's all got to be done by hand, which means with 30,000 connections, and this, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do a message manually to 30,000 connections. For me, it takes over a month for one person to do a direct message to each one in a reasonable manner, And it would be great if we could just go click a few buttons and boom, it goes out to 30,000. And then maybe once a month we could do it. But it literally takes a staff member of mine one whole month to message everyone in my connections. And that's a con, but at the same time, I get it because LinkedIn is all about the personal connections, so they're making it more difficult. So I respect it, even though from a marketing standpoint, it's not the easiest for us.
Yeah, no, that's true. I was just thinking about the message that you had, about being female. A fella that I'd met, one of my LinkedIn connections, Scott McCain. He's a big speaker in the US, and I happened to see him talk, on LinkedIn, talk about someone that had sent him a cold calling message, wondering whether he needed any coaching with his speaking, in his speaking session. And so, I think one of the things that so many people think about LinkedIn is that, it's a professional site. And so, you must always be professional, and there's, there's no fun and there's no joking. Well, I actually sent Scott a personal message, like a direct message saying, "Hi, Scott, hope you're well. Was going to offer to sell you a bottle of Australian snake oil to help you with your next keynote speech. But figured if I did that, you'd already know that I knew what you did." So, and I remember, and Scott sent me back a message saying, that was the funniest message. But I think that, like for me, that's one of the things that, people just forget. You can always be professional, but you can, actually having that personal touch just makes a huge amount of difference.
I agree. And, LinkedIn is there are many stiff LinkedIners. They're very stiff. And I can imagine, they've got their cup of coffee and it's 9 a.m. and they've punched in at their job or whatever. And they're like, bang, 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 bang. And they've got a certain way. And if you don't fit their way, we're a bit on the fringe when it comes to, marketing and a little bit different. Right. But this is how we get attention, right? Is by being slightly different and more personal. And sometimes they don't like that. But I think overall, being personal is the most important thing we can do on LinkedIn. And then just embrace all the great things about it. And then hopefully some of the small things that we don't care for, they kind of go away.
Yeah, exactly. And I see that, that so many people, like complain about, LinkedIn's like, it's becoming like Facebook, and, they're going to delete their profile. And I just figure you just ignore, like if there's something that you don't, doesn't interest you, you just ignore it. Like,
or just give me their profile. We'll make something happen with it.
Yeah, exactly. We could do that without a doubt.
Right.
So one of the things, like as far as connections, and again talking about like having a wide range of a wide network in a whole different range of industries.
Yes.
I had a message from a girl. She's a vet over in over in Canberra here in Australia, and she sent me a message asking whether I could whether we could catch up, because she was looking to come back to South Australia and see sort of, like what opportunities there were. So, like I'm not a vet, but, certainly, in my network, I've got a whole range of,
any people that have cats and dogs. You must.
Cats and dogs, in the agriculture space,
horses,
in all sorts of, horses, correct. Yeah, don't forget horses. So it's certainly, it is, when you've got a broad network that's got,
what I find amazing about the network, and speaking of that, is that we can have connections all over the globe, right? Yep. And there is someone somewhere else that needs help. They need something. And when we can make ourselves available to help, it just makes the world a better place, whether it's just for gratis or to really, help them in business or that kind of thing. But, when we can help someone across the globe, I'll give you an example. There was a gentleman that was on LinkedIn from Mongolia. Now, I don't speak Mongolian. Since then, I've happened to go to Mongolia many, many times as a result. But the opportunities can come from I'll just say from the cyberspace in LinkedIn. And if someone just has a need and they're searching and they find us. And that's the cool part, is about being found in LinkedIn just for being there. And when we're propped up and we have the right profile set up properly, it works. It's just crazy how many connections we can get, and then the messages back and forth, and then the business that we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that, like now in our profiles that we can see, like how many times we've appeared in search results.
Yep.
I'm still not 100% convinced how robust that those figures are, because I remember one, like when it first started, it would say that I'd appeared in search results 5,000 something times.
I had the same thing. Yeah. No, but I think it's calmed down now. We're probably at about the same level. It's maybe 200 or 300 times a week being found in the search. I was thinking
I'd become invisible.
No. But I think what's happened is that there was something wrong, and then they've got it right. But 200 or 300 times a week is a wonderful opportunity. Again, when we're seeing that many times in the search, because again, that's what it's about, is being found.
It'd be really handy if we actually knew what we were being found for, and and who'd actually, who'd found us.
Exactly.
But one of the things that, like I've noticed, is when somebody looks at your LinkedIn profile, when you look at who's viewed your profile, and this probably, won't necessarily apply to the people that have got, the actual free account, because of course you can only see, who's viewed the last 5 people.
Correct.
But for people that have got the paid account, you can actually see where they found you, whether they found you by the homepage or through search, or so that sometimes is really quite useful as well.
Yes, it is.
So Jim, as far as your most memorable connection.
My most memorable connection, I actually have one that was really quite special. And it was a gentleman. I met him in Cyprus. I was there on vacation, and it was a colored gentleman from Nigeria who was English trained in UK, spoke perfect English, and we were having a chat by a pool. And he wasn't doing anything. He actually was not working, didn't have any income. And I said to him, you really should get on LinkedIn, because you've got some skills, you speak great English, and you're from the UK and Nigeria. Not that Nigeria means a lot for some people, but you're different. And that day he decided to take the plunge into LinkedIn, and he started with 200 connections. That's all he had for many, many years. And this was crazy. In 24 hours, 4,500 connections in 24 hours. And in like 3 days, he was over 10,000 connections. And then at that point I said, so what is it that you want to do? Because I was on vacation for about a week and a half there, and I saw him by the pool every day. I said, so what do you want to do? And he said, you know what? I want to take people on a spiritual journey up Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm like, great. What does it cost to do that? I've never done that. He says, it's about $1,000 for the Sherpas and all that. I said, super. So why don't you put something up on LinkedIn? We'll create a post, and let's say it's a $4,000 ticket. They got to get their transportation and everything else. Long story short, $36,000 in the first 30 days in LinkedIn. And he's done it now 9 times since.
Wow. That's amazing, isn't it?
Pretty cool. All from LinkedIn. That's how it started. Really something else, you know?
Yeah. It and like when I think about the same sorts of things, like within my network. And I mean, one of the things that that I've come to realize over probably the last couple of years is that, like, I'm just a natural connector, and
yes.
and my mind, quite often I'll be talking to someone and my mind will just be thinking, okay, now who do I know?
Exactly.
Who do I know that can help them, or who do I know that they might need that? And so, like, that's just how I naturally think. And some of the people that like I'll be talking to, like I'll be looking almost I'll be looking off in space, and I'll say, hang on a minute, I'm just thinking, because I reckon I know somebody that could help you.
Right.
And I remember one day, a friend of mine who, again, I'd met on Blab, he had a cartoon that he'd had animated, and the BBC at this particular time were looking at perhaps picking it up as a series. And he said to me, he said, Leanne, can you find me a lawyer in London that specialises in media entertainment?
Wow.
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Why not? Why not?
So again, the power of having a like a global network in all sorts of different in all sorts of different industries. So I was able to do some really specific searches, like in London, in the industry of lawyers, and put in the keywords of like media, media, and so I think I came up with a list of about 10 people really specifically that matched that criteria. So I had a look at each of their profiles, and I mean, that's probably one of the things that so many people don't realise, that if they don't use LinkedIn a lot, they'll put a few things in their profile, but as soon as you've got a LinkedIn account, anyone can find you. That's right. You may as well have as much information in there as you possibly can.
That's right.
Anyway, this lady, she'd had quite a few of them, had all sorts of information in there, and so I literally dug into each of their profiles, looked at their links, looked at the information that they had, and there was one lady, I thought, yep, I think she's the one. So she wasn't a first level connection of mine, she was a second level, so a friend of a friend, and so I reached out to her, did a personal connection request, and just said, look, this is who I am, I have this colleague in the US that this is what they're doing, would you be interested in, is it something you could help with, and would you be interested in being connected? And she sent me a message straight back saying, yep, that'd be fantastic. So I put the two of them
great
together. So it's really just about seeing the opportunities and seeing who you can match people with, and who can help everyone else.
Well, life is about adding value. This is what we can do, is add value to other people's lives. And because we have a connection base and we have a network, we can add value to so many other people to help them out. And that's what it's about. It's just adding value.
Yeah. So Jim, thinking about your 3 tips for success on LinkedIn, what would they be?
Tip number 1 is make sure that you have a great background graphic. You have a spot-on background graphic, because this is basically your billboard. And so when someone comes to your LinkedIn profile, that background's got to stand out and be something different than what most other people have. Okay. I've seen people that they have like a nice beach scene or something else, but just do something different than the norm. Right. So that would be tip number 1. The second tip that's actually almost as important is I see more profiles with no picture, no profile pic. And we might as well, we're wasting our time. Humans are very visual. We look through our eyes and we're visual, and we want to see who we're connecting with, or we want to see who that person is. And if we can't see their picture, then it's hard to believe anything else. It's tough. Like, what are they hiding? That kind of thing. So that would be the second one. The third one is a little bit of a different tip. When we go and help our clients out to be found more often, and they don't have a profile that's really being found, we start in a very, very interesting place with putting them in the zip code 90210 in Beverly Hills.
Yep.
And just for a short period of time, just until they get to 1,000 connections, and then they can go back to wherever they want to be as far as in their profile. Now that I understand people are going to go, Jim, that doesn't sound right because I'm in Adelaide, Australia, or wherever. But the point is here, you've got to get to the point where you get to 1,000 connections as quickly as you can. And so when we put 90210 as a zip code in Beverly Hills, it's much easier for people to find us because there are just more people searching in that area, with Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. And I think LinkedIn has some sort of geolocation where when people are searching in a local area, that because it says Los Angeles or Beverly Hills, we're found more often. And we can actually speed up the process of getting to 1,000 connections much, much faster by using that zip code. And we've tried many. We've tried Denver, Colorado, New York City, San Francisco, but 90210 works the best.
That's a fantastic tip. And, you know, I think I've heard you say that before because I have actually done that myself.
Yes, it works.
Changed my location, and probably not necessarily from a, from creating more connections perspective, but as far as like if I'm looking to like make connections in that particular area.
Yeah.
And so I certainly, and I think that that's one thing that people don't even realize or know that you can change your location, but you can also change your industry.
You can.
And that's one of the things that like occasionally I have done sort of, especially when part of me works with, within professional coaches and speakers, and the other part of me, for the people that know me, know that I'm partly a farmer now. Well, I've always been more a farmer, but I'm not quite such a farmer now. I live in suburbia. But so, it sort of depends. If I'm working within the agriculture space, then I will change my profile, the industry to farming. So
absolutely.
It's really, there's nothing wrong with that because
you know what? LinkedIn allows us to do these things. This is not against the terms of service. They don't say you can't do it. They allow us to do this. So this is what we do in order to be found more often for that target market we're looking for, whether it's geolocation or by industry. Yeah.
That's right. Fabulous. So any other tips for us, Jim?
The biggest thing beyond what I've already shared is you just have to engage in LinkedIn. That's the biggest thing. There are a lot of people that are just on the sidelines and not doing much except for watching, but jump in, make a few posts, actually share some videos and other things that are good for people. It's not about selling. It's about attracting. It's like being a magnet and attracting, and just do a good job of adding value to people's lives. That's the most important thing we can do in LinkedIn because it's a 500 million person environment. This community is enormous and it continues to grow. Since Microsoft took it over, they've done an amazing job at getting it to grow. And I'm not going to ever say it could be like Facebook, but I think that what we find is that our leads out of LinkedIn are much higher quality than out of Facebook. And so we're there. This is where we want to be in order to have a higher quality lead. And this is what most people are on LinkedIn for, besides finding a job or whatever else they're doing. The biggest thing I find with LinkedIn is it's all about finding talent or being found for your talent. This is how it's changed. It used to be the place where put your resume up, your CV up, and now you'll be found for your CV and that kind of thing. It's no longer like that. It's much, much bigger because so many of us just work from our laptops and have skills. So make sure you're just found for your talents. And if you need talent, it's certainly the easiest place on the planet to search for talent, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. Thinking about the engagement. One of the things that now we have the ability to do is be able to see people, your connections activity, and that's one of the things that previously we really had no idea how active anyone, any of our connections or anyone was on LinkedIn. But now having the ability to actually see people's activity and the notifications that we get, so if you make a comment on someone's post, that then you actually get the notifications that someone else has made a comment. And a lot of the connections and the engagement and the interactions that I've had lately have been as a result of me actually making a comment on someone else's post.
Right, and there's a notification.
It's a notification. And then one of the keys, again, is the personalization of connection requests. And, you know, the amount, you know, probably the 1,500 that I've got sitting in my inbox, I think there would be lucky to be probably 5 of those 1,500 that have actually taken the time to send a personal connection request.
You're right. And that makes a difference.
You know, like even makes a huge difference. And I mean, one of the things, you know, when that happens is
LinkedIn is blowing up the phone.
But one of the things that, you know, when you do send a personal connection request is that when that person accepts, then it automatically puts it into your messaging inbox.
Yes. Yep.
So you know exactly when they've accepted the request. Yes. Then you can engage with them. And like the active status now, when, you know, on messaging is fantastic because you can see when that person's actually online.
Absolutely. Love that.
Straight away. So,
it's getting better. It's been getting better for business and connecting for sure.
It is. Well, thanks, Jim. I think we're probably, I mean, you and I we could certainly
go forever. Right.
We could go forever. Yeah, we've got, we've both got a lot of, 10 years of experience on LinkedIn. So we've got 10 years of
that's right.
Changes that we could probably talk about and opportunities. But so look, thank you so much for being my first.
Well, thank you too. And I'm honored to be the first one. Thank you for thinking of me. And as far as it goes, if you need any help on anything, you know, I'm right here for you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I mean, one of the things that you know, with LinkedIn is sometimes it's not particularly intuitive, and you know, even now I sit there and think, oh, I wonder where on earth, you know, I exported my connections.
Yeah.
And I thought,
where'd they go?
Now, where did they hide that? Because they change it all the time. So I have had a great time in the last couple of days of actually creating a mind map. And going, okay, so
wow, cool.
Yeah, so you know, under the me, what's under the me, and what's under the privacy.
Yeah, great.
So that's something that I've created a mind map. So if people would, you know, if that would be helpful. I mean, it's been amazing for me to be able to create that, and I know this. I've just got that up on the screen. It probably is very small, but the orange is all of the
that's brilliant.
Whatever we've got, you know, the me and the network, and then sort of I've dug down, and so it doesn't fit on this whole page because you know, the whole maze goes out. But so if anyone would like a copy of that mind map, please send me a personal message on LinkedIn, and I can send you a copy of that mind map. But it like I said, I mean, LinkedIn's not necessarily intuitive all the time. So trying to work out where everything is. Probably Jim, you and I look at LinkedIn every day and think, oh, hang on, that's changed. So you know, if we that use it all the time sort of think, oh, I wonder where
there were changes just yesterday in LinkedIn. Like, oh my gosh, this thing changed again.
Yeah. So no, we could, like I said, you and I could probably sit here all day and talk about it. So look, thank you. And for anyone watching, thank you very much for watching. And I look forward to bringing you my next guest next week. So same time here on Facebook Live and also on YouTube. So it's 6 p.m. on Wednesday night in the US. In Eastern time. So thank you, and I will see you all next week. Thanks, Jim. Thank you, Rob.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rob, for producing my show. You've done an amazing job. So anyone that would like a live Facebook Live or a YouTube live show, Rob Hix from Enlightened Audio Visual is the guy to go to. So thank you.
Brilliant.